You want it, you need it, you got it, and wow! Yeah, 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 yeah. Alright, so Static X released a new album after 11 years, and even after Wayne Static passed away. What is going on? I didn't know that Static X was working on a new album. So today I'm reviewing Project Regeneration Volume 1. So this album is a pretty interesting album overall, running about 40 minutes with Wayne Static's vocals on it, even though he did pass away back in 2014. There's a strong history because Cult of Static was a pretty good album. That was 11 years before this one. Although the band split up back in 2011, I think, Wayne Static was also working on vocal demos, and his vocal demos are now implemented into this album. Now, Static's vocals on this album are just absolutely fantastic. They really are. I just love his visual tone throughout some of these songs and some really catchy melodic moments as well. How the original band is actually all together as well, producing one entire complete album. Like, this is their 7th studio album, and Wayne Static just feels like he's back alive. Static X has risen from the ashes from this album, and to be honest, this was an album that I expected to be quite a flop. But this wasn't a flop. No, 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 no. It's one of the best new metal albums of 2020. Mushroom Head released an album incorporating elements of that new metal that we come to love. Although I feel that that album was way too long, but this album is absolute banger. It's such a really fun fucking album. This album is addictive as anything, and today I'm going to give you my thoughts on what I thought about Project Regeneration Volume 1. Can't believe I actually missed out on the making of this album because there's been so much news on this album. There was a huge altercation with their ex-guitarist Trip, who wanted some songwriting credibility on this album, and this album was pushed back for its release date because of the altercation and everything. And to be honest, it doesn't really deteriorate the actual album itself, because this album is a pretty cohesive album. Now, the overall production on this album is top notch, it really is, and it just sounds like a Static X album. Cult of Static was a fantastic album as well by this band, but I just feel that this album just feels like something out of the old Static X because it's got that strong industrial feel incorporating the elements of new metal. So throughout this album you also have the original band members, and you also have another vocalist called Zero. Now, he is along with Wayne Static's vocals, and it might be the harsh aggressive vocals he incorporates throughout this album, but his vocals are very good as well. So the first song is Regeneration. So overall, it's an introduction. It's just like an electronic trance song. It's got the synthy elements that you expect from a Static X song, and I do love the overall production that leads on to the next song, which is Hollow, Project Regeneration. You want it, you need it, you got it, you got it. A very interesting song overall. First of all, it kicks off with some really gritty guitar riffs that lead on to Wayne Static's vocals. Static's vocals are fantastic in this, and I just absolutely love this chorus. You want it, you got it. Overall, that leads on to such a bouncy guitar riff. What I really love is how this song just feels so damn dynamic, and it's an absolute banger to kick off the album. Take a drink and let us swallow. I feel hollow, not tomorrow. It's such an enjoyable song for what it is because I do love the drum fills throughout this song, and overall maybe the lyrics are slightly not as good as the other Static X lyrics, but damn, it really packs a punch, this song. It then leads on to Worth Dying For. Now you want, now you got, now you take, now you steal my life, you wanna take. Which is definitely one of the most melodic songs off the album, and I do love that chorus. That chorus is so damn good, along with those guitar riffs and the chord progression, but not only that, the synthy elements and how it hey, stop doing that, and get out. The song song, and I do really enjoy the overall atmosphere that they provide. The guitar riffs are absolutely fucking fantastic, and not to mention static vocals are really good as well. What I really do enjoy is the overall vocal layering throughout Worth Dying For, and it's just a really sing-alongable song. Leads on to Terminator Oscillator. This song is absolutely fantastic. I do love the gritty riffs throughout the song, and not to mention those vocals. Oh, those vocals are so damn good, harsh and aggressive. Do love the overall production of the song, and not to mention the gritty bass you hear. Overall was a really tight and key for the song, which is definitely one of my favourite songs off the album. Leads on to All These Years, which I believe was their second single. To be honest, I was under a rock. I was fucking under a rock. Feels like an old Static X song, but Wayne's vocals again are absolutely fantastic. Now I do love the overall dynamic feel of this song and how at times emotional it feels towards the listener. There's a strong emotional connection towards the listener. I feel like that this is Static X's love letter to the fans here, because the fans, no way did the fans expect to have another Static X album after Wayne Static actually passed away back in 2014. Leads on to Accelerate. Till the line hits the flow, till you suffocate, till you lie, till you blow, till accelerate. Fantastic song. I do really enjoy it. I just love the overall repetitiveness of this song as well. Although repetitive is a bad thing at times, this song has a great repetitive factor. And I really love the gritty and groovy guitar riffs throughout this song that overall incorporates that tingy feel of that industrial feel you get from Static X songs. Has a new metal vibe to it, but it also stays true to that Static X sound, and I do really enjoy it. And it leads on to My Destruction, which has such one of the best overall lyrics in my opinion on this album. Again, I do love how melodic this song feels, and not to mention how dynamic and approachable this song is. It overall has a really strong intensity. One of the heaviest songs off the album, but certainly conveys that emotion towards the listener. Swallow me, just swallow me. What I did really enjoy about this album was that this album was a fucking fun album, but it also had some emotion. It leads on to Something of My Own, which is another good song. I do love Zero's and Wayne Static's vocals throughout this song, because there is some nice aggression towards the song, and there's some lighter moments as well that leads on to Ostego Placebo. Definitely one of my favorite songs off the album. I just love how catchy that chorus is as well, and not to mention the crazy sound you are getting throughout this song, not to mention the upbeat tempo. Drums are fantastic. I love the drum fills that lead on to such really gritty and grungy guitar moments. And that chorus is amazing, and I really love how sing-alongable this song is. Leads on to Follow, which is definitely not my favorite song off the album. It's definitely the weakest song off the album. It's a bit of a disappointment by Static X. This is one of the worst Static X songs in my opinion. I just feel that this is just a recycling factor. Although I must commend that guitar riff. That guitar riff throughout Follow does sound similar to something out of Slipknot, if you get what I mean. Something out of Psychosocial era. Because I do love that gritty guitar riff, but that guitar riff is all that does it for the song. His vocals are good in this, you could say, but it's just the same repetitive factor that I didn't really enjoy with Follow, and that's why this album will get a downgrading score. Leads on to Dead Souls, which is definitely one of the most mixed emotional songs off the album. You can tell there's a lot of emotion conveyed throughout this song. There's a really nice mix between acoustics and electronic elements along with gritty guitar work. I do love the overall chorus. The overall chorus is one of the most sing-alongable songs off the album. But it's such a really good way to end off the album. So Static X, Project Regeneration really surprised me, to be honest, because my mate said that Static X released a new album and I said, oh wait, how is that possible? I mean, how is that possible? Because I obviously was sleeping under a rock, but I was fucking impressed with this album. I have listened to this album 7 times already in a day, and I gotta say, I'm very impressed, and this is easily gonna make it into my top 20 albums of the year for sure, because this is one of the most playable albums of the year in my opinion. So for this, Static X, Project Regeneration, I will give this a solid 8.5 out of 10. This is a throwback to what I really enjoyed back in the day. I loved industrial, I loved new metal, and I really enjoyed Static X, Korn, and Slipknot, and Disturbed, and I really loved those bands, and I used to play them all the time. And to just hear another Static X album, Wayne's vocals on this album, just like a dream come true, if you get what I mean, because I absolutely loved this album. This is a great new metal industrial album that it's very different to all the other music that I listen to today, but you really do appreciate that throwback of the old sound by Static X. So an 8.5 out of 10 it deserves. And comment below if you heard this album, comment below if you disagree with my opinion. One of the best Static X albums in my opinion, and I will see you in the next one.